The restoration of the historic Ard Godfrey House. The Ard Godfrey House was built in 1849 and has the distinction of being the oldest remaining wood frame house in Minneapolis. The Godfrey family left the house in 1853, and the house was occupied by several families until June 1905, when the Hennepin County Territorial Pioneers Association purchased the house to preserve this important piece of Minnesota history. After the historic house was accepted by the Minneapolis Parks and Recreation Board and moved to Chute Square Park in 1909, the Pioneers Association opened the house as a historic museum. The house was run as a museum from 1916 until 1942. The Park Board provided financial assistance to help the association maintain the house. However, the Park Board and Pioneers Association could no longer sustain the payments, and the Godfrey House was closed and boarded up in 1943. One local resident who knew the background and historical value of the Godfrey House was Mrs. Katie Lenmark, the president of the Women's Club of Minneapolis. In the spring of 1975, as she was driving past the deserted house, she had an inspiring idea. America's bicentennial year of 1976 was approaching. What if the Godfrey House could be completely restored and reopened as a gift to the people of Minnesota in that memorable year? She presented her idea to the Women's Club members to spirited approval. Marguerite Palin, the daughter of Minnie Ham, one of the Godfrey twins, spoke to the Women's Club about the history of the Godfrey family and house. Marguerite's daughter, Gretchen Peterson, was a Women's Club member and an active participant in the Godfrey House restoration. A project committee was formed, and they presented their ideas to the Minneapolis Parks and Recreation Board, who still owned the historic house. The Park Board was enthusiastic about the project, but was concerned about the scope and cost, which was estimated to exceed $65,000. After 12 meetings with the Park Board over the course of a year, the board was finally convinced of the sincerity, determination, and capacity of the women committed to this project. The board signed a rent-free lease with the Women's Club, which stipulated that the Women's Club would clean, restore, furnish, and maintain the Godfrey House. The Park Board would be responsible for improving and maintaining the grounds and paying for most of the utilities. The project committee reached out to numerous historic experts in order to guarantee authenticity in every phase of the restoration. They provided a series of lectures at the Women's Club on architecture, textiles, furniture, clothing, and social customs of the mid-19th century. This education helped club members to assist with the restoration efforts. The physical work began in June 1976, when project committee members first turned the key in the front door of the Godfrey House and started the difficult task of cleaning up over 30 years of debris and grime. A regular work schedule was followed that summer as Women's Club members, friends, spouses, and trade union volunteers removed old shingles, scraped faded wallpaper, and removed tarnish and mold. Later, rooms in the house were refurnished with authentic wall treatments, floor coverings, furniture, photographs, and decorations. Some 10,000 volunteer hours later, the house opened to an attending audience of 800 people on July 4, 1979. The Women's Club of Minneapolis has been providing public tours ever since that opening day. The Ard Godfrey House is open to the public on Saturdays and Sundays in June, July, and August. We invite you to come and see the amazing restoration work completed by a dedicated and passionate group of women to preserve this important piece of Minnesota history.